Welcome to LOA Today. I'm Walt Thiessen here with Alex King. Today is Thursday. It is March the 12th, 2020, 4 p.m. New York time. Wherever you are in the world, thanks for joining us for another episode of LOA Today, your daily dose of happy. And we're happy to be doing a Thursday show. A little unhappy because Daniel can't join us. They're just doing so much hammering and pounding there that he can't even hear himself. So, we'll just have to carry on without him. But we've done that before, Alex. I mean, we've got this. This is not an issue.
Yeah.
But we'll miss him anyway. We'll see him again next Tuesday. So how are you doing? What's happening in your neck of the woods? You got your unicorn headphones on, so I know things are good, especially with the light flashing. That's always a good clue. But...
Yeah, I decided you can't really see the light unless it's flashing, so I'm going to start leaving it flashing now.
Ah, okay. Well, that's a good plan. That's good. So how are things? Are you doing okay?
Yeah, things are good. I got my allergy shots today, so my arms are super itchy. It's fantastic.
Oh, the things we look forward to, I tell you.
I'm just glad I was mindful enough to remember to get my allergy shot today.
Okay. That's a good way to look at it. I like that.
Because I've been missing out on a couple of weeks.
Oh, dear. Yeah. Well, you want to be consistent. It's true with anything. It's true with learning to be a conscious creator, but it's also true with just living life. You want to make sure you stick to your plan,
Exactly.
Yeah, so good stuff. So anyway, we were kind of fishing around for topics, and neither one of us told the other what their topic is. So we're going to do this blind, which is okay. We're good at that. But what did you have in mind? You had something in mind for a topic. What was yours?
Okay, so I don't know if you remember this story, but my topic today was determination. And it came from, I don't know how the conversation came up, but my mom and I were talking about the story of the 1,000 paper cranes.
Oh, okay. Why don't you reiterate that one for people who may have missed that?
Okay, so 1,000 paper cranes, I forget the little girl's name. It's something hard to pronounce in Japanese. But so there was a little girl who was diagnosed with leukemia from radiation from the bomb in Hiroshima.
Mm-hmm.
And there was a old legend that if you fold 1,000 paper cranes, you are allowed a wish. So her one wish was to continue to live. So she wanted to fold 1,000 paper cranes before she died so she could live.
Mm-hmm.
She didn't quite make it. She made it to 644, and then her family finished right after she died. So
yes, okay.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
So that's an example of the determination you were talking about.
Yes.
Which is interesting because it points to what we would not typically call a manifestation story. I mean, she didn't get her wish, so to speak.
Right.
But
in the
nevertheless,
story, they did say that she did live longer than she was supposed to.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So there was that.
Yeah.
And of course, whenever somebody's passing, from my reading of it, it's always a little bit challenging. I mean, I think for anybody, it's challenging just because of the emotional side of it.
Mm-hmm.
But just in terms of understanding how the whole thing works, I find it challenging because of what we've been taught by Abraham, that people choose when they're going to pass. So it sounds like kind of a contradiction, sort of. On the one hand, she wanted to be able to fold her 1,000 paper cranes and live, and yet, according to what they told us, she kind of, I don't want to say gave up the ghost. That sounds really rude, but
no, she just didn't make the deadline.
She didn't make the deadline,
yeah.
After 600 or so. Which is, so, I mean, I guess if we believe what Abraham's teaching us, then she kind of changed her mind partway through the project.
I feel like she might have.
So that's challenging. That's not an easy thing, that it's going to be hard for a lot of people hearing a story like that and saying, well, yeah, but she didn't get her wish.
Yeah. Or did she? Maybe towards the end, she was just wanting peace.
Okay. Well, that's possible. That's possible. Mm-hmm. So anyway, why did you bring that one up? What does that, I mean, obviously she was determined, but was there more to it than that?
No, I was just thinking of what a great manifestation story that is.
Because she was able to make her life longer. She was able to sustain her life by doing that project and staying focused on this thing that she wanted to get.
Yes, okay. Exactly.
Okay. Yeah. Well, that is true. I mean, if you don't follow through, you never get there.
Facts.
It's something my grandfather tried to teach me about golf. He says, when you're on the putting green, you try to hit the ball at least to the hole or farther. If you hit it short, you can't get it in, no matter how accurate it is. God bless you. No matter how accurate, no matter how straight it is, you can't get it in the hole because it just didn't get there.
Mm-hmm.
You know, so you have to follow through. You have to get all the way to the hole.
Yeah.
Yeah. And that's true for anything else in life, whether we are consciously creating, whether we are, you know, just trying to do a basic mundane task with a goal attached to it, or whether we're trying to stifle a sneeze, whatever it is.
It tickled.
But yeah, the determination is pretty important. There's no doubt about that.
Mm-hmm. Facts.
I'm asking myself, does it fit in with what I have in mind for a topic? I'm not sure. It might.
We always find a way to wiggle around it.
We usually do, but this one's this one's a pretty challenging one.
Mm-hmm.
This one's going to kind of, you know, test our muster, so to speak.
Ooh.
Because even though we counsel people, don't pay attention to the news and, you know, stay on what you like and not on what you don't like and so forth. Today, especially, all of the conversations going on, all the news, all of the non-news conversations are about the coronavirus.
Yeah.
Everything is coronavirus right now.
Oh, you ain't lying about that.
And, you know, when something becomes that big of a deal, I think it's something we need to address from a law of attraction perspective. So that's why I wanted to bring it up. So, I mean, it's not something we would normally want to talk about in any great detail because we like to try to stay on stuff that feels good. But, you know, this is important. It's important stuff. And I think the impetus for me was when a very good friend of mine had a conversation with me just the other day. And she's a law of attraction practitioner. Actually understands LOA pretty well. And she was asking me, well, what do you think about what's going on with this coronavirus? I told her, well, I actually try not to spend too much time focusing on it because I don't want to attract it into my life or to the lives of anybody I care about. I try to, you know, I'll take basic precautions, you know, washing your hands. That makes sense. You know, I'm not a germphobe like the germophobic chief, but I try to, you know, do just basic cleanliness. Just, you know,
I feel bad for the people who weren't washing their hands before this. Like, what are we all doing in life?
Well, that's another question.
Yeah.
I mean, I got out the can of Lysol for the first time in about a year and a half and
right.
down, you know, and just basic stuff like that.
Yeah.
Not in a way that bought into any of the hype or any of the angst. There's a lot of angst, a lot of fear. You can hear fear in people's voices. You can read it in what they're posting online. There's a lot of fear. And I was trying not to buy into any of that. And I'd say largely succeeding.
Okay.
But I'm having this conversation with my friend who is a conscious creator, a deliberate creator, as I would term her anyway, and who's going pretty good about this stuff. And it was pretty clear to me. I mean, she was being low key about it, but it was kind of getting to her, the whole thing. And the way she was expressing it was, okay, well, I understand not wanting to pay a lot of attention to it, but what about for people who are at risk? You know, people who have pre-existing conditions of various kinds. Maybe they're sick in the hospital. Maybe they're elderly. Maybe, you know, there's a variety of things. Compromised
immune systems.
Yeah, all kinds of stuff like that. Well, what about for them? I mean, shouldn't we be doing something to help them out? And I mean, it kind of caught me off guard, but it also kind of rang through to me because I said to myself, well, yeah, I mean, they are truly responsible for themselves, but
I was just going to say that.
But we're also responsible if we care to, you know, to be helpful in a way that is, I think, consistent with ourselves, consistent with what we know works from a law of attraction perspective. And of course, one of the best ways to do that is to be positively mindful about outcomes, thinking healthy thoughts, and, you know, wishing everybody speedy recoveries who do get sick and so forth. And I pointed out to her that already we know something like 15% of people who get the infection actually manifest symptoms. The other 85% don't. So it's, I mean, the way I'm looking at it is actually pretty good. I mean, it means that 85% aren't going to get sick. So, you know, we're not talking like the Spanish flu at the end of World War I. This is something that's much, much more manageable. Will there be people who will succumb to it? Already they have. So clearly that's happening, you know, and the numbers are pretty substantial. So, you know, it's definitely a concern. But I also thought to myself, you know, it's not like I go to the nearest senior citizen center every week and sneeze on everybody.
Right.
You
You're doing
know,
your part.
I've been doing my part all along, and I think
Right.
most people
Exactly.
do. Most
Mm-hmm.
people do. I mean, there are some people who just, show no concern for anybody else. I'll grant you
Mm,
that. But I think most people are pretty responsible about stuff like that, you
yeah.
know?
I,
So beyond that, and I kind of asked her this, and she tried to give me an answer, but it was not really clear. Um, I asked her, what else do you want us to do? I mean, I kind of
mm-hmm.
made light out of it because of the way I said,
Yeah.
I wasn't going to sneeze on everybody, right? And she got that. She understood
hmm
that. But I got the sense that she was still kind of troubled by the whole thing. So I figured
hmm
this is a good topic. This is something to bring up. So
Yeah, definitely.
you kind of hinted at what some of your views are, but talk about it a little bit. Where are you sitting on this whole coronavirus thing?
I'm also not trying to think about it. Not trying to manifest it in my life. And again, the people I care about either. And trying not to make a big deal out of it because I feel like it's just a glorified flu, because like my nurses were telling me that more people are dying from the actual flu than the coronavirus at this point.
Really, I
Um,
hadn't heard that one. That's
oh yeah,
interesting. Yeah,
yeah, that's the thing. Everyone's worried about the coronavirus, and you really need to be worried about the flu. Like,
that's really wild. Yeah.
yeah.
Media
Also
certainly
too,
missed that one.
yeah.
Which
On
is
the
surprising. They usually find all the different ways to scare you, and they miss the big one. That's really
yeah,
interesting.
exactly. Well,
You
that's
know?
because the big scary thing is the coronavirus now,
I
so you got
guess
to put the
so.
focus on that. So
Yeah.
yeah. So but on the other hand, I have been more mindful of where hand sanitizer is when I go to the doctor's offices, and more mindful of door handles. So I'm
Oh, and
doing the
by the
whole.
way, I don't know if you heard, but hand
Mm,
sanitizers are out. It's
oh,
soap and
yep.
water. It's soap and
Well, I've been
water.
doing soap and water anyway, but yeah,
So there
just
you
when I'm
go.
in the doctor's office, I'm like, because I don't know where everybody's been.
This is true. This is very true.
But that's about as extreme as I'm gonna get is door handles, and yeah, that's about it.
hmm Do you get the same sense that I do, that people you know and care about are starting to feel emotionally connected to this thing?
I know Kenny definitely is.
Yes.
But he's a conspiracy theorist, so like he jumped on this faster than I don't even know what. Like he was like, oh, it's the Illuminati trying to kill all the royal bloodlines. That's what it was. I was like, oh, geez, here we go.
The royal bloodline. Okay.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I was like,
All right.
who is considered in these royal bloodlines? He's like, the rare blood types. All right, okay.
So in other words, that includes you.
Well, he's got an even rarer blood type. The one
Really?
allegedly it comes from space. That they just found this out maybe a year ago, last year sometime.
Okay.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
So you both rare blood types.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Different blood types, but rare blood types. Yeah.
That's rare.
Yeah. Come up with that one all by yourself, did ya?
Yeah, it was a toughie. Well, this is the Daily Dose of Happy, so we got to find some ways to laugh this stuff off, right?
Exactly.
Yeah, and that is a big part of it. It
Mm-hmm.
It is also, I mean, if we can put the angst aside long enough and look
Mm-hmm.
at some of the news stories, it is kind of laughable, some of it.
Oh yeah, yeah.
Here in Connecticut, of course, anybody in Connecticut is interested in the UConn Huskies women's basketball team, coached by Gina Auriemma. And Gina was quoted by a reporter who asked him about the new American Athletic Conference policy. And he says,
Mm-hmm.
"Oh, don't even let me get into it."
Mm-hmm.
Before the guy could even come up with a question, don't let me get into it. Because
there we go. I like that attitude.
It turned out what the policy was, that after the game, the players weren't allowed to shake each other's hands.
I knew you were going to say that.
And he said, now these girls have been, slamming bodies against each other for 40 minutes, but they're not allowed to shake hands.
Yeah, with sweat,
Yeah.
by the way.
Yeah. And I have to say, he's right. It's pretty laughable. That's ridiculous.
Yeah,
but
I agree.
Now, on the more serious side, almost all of the major sports stuff is getting canceled.
Yeah, they just canceled the whole NBA season.
The NBA season has been canceled. The rumors are Major League Baseball spring training is going to be canceled. The NCAA tournament currently is down to having the teams only with no fans, and they're talking about canceling that as well. The National Hockey League is talking about canceling. National Soccer also canceling.
Wow.
Yeah, it's like it's an epidemic.
All right, that's 2 for 2.
But it shows just how much people are taking this seriously. It's becoming a
Yep.
political football in the presidential campaign.
Mhm.
It's of course it's going to be a political football in general. So Congress and the White House are fighting over it. I mean,
Yep.
it's just getting really, really big. A lot of people, people are talking now. There's a new phrase. What do they call it? Self-imposed. What do they call it? Where you keep yourself away from everybody else. What's that called?
Oh, self-quarantine?
Quarantine, yeah.
Yeah.
Self-imposed quarantine. So it's
Mhm.
almost like a hashtag these days because of how much that's popping up all over the place.
I'm
No?
gonna hashtag it anyway.
Well, there you
I've
go.
been doing that for 12 years, so
You're an expert at it.
exactly. I was like, babe,
Mm-hmm.
we'll just stay home. It's fine.
In fact, my friend even said she was concerned about, what happens with supply lines. And I think what she meant is
Yeah.
like foods and so forth.
Right.
And honestly, that doesn't concern me at all.
Mhm.
I mean, I understand how the fear comes into it. I
Mhm.
just have a really good understanding of how strong the supply lines are. There's a lot of redundancy built in,
Mhm. Yeah.
a whole lot of redundancy. It would take much more like the Spanish flu of World War I to put them at risk than the
Yeah.
coronavirus. And even then it'd be like Spanish flu on steroids in order for
Yeah. Yeah.
it would have to be like, 80% of the population in bed before it's an issue.
Mhm.
So, and I don't see that happening. So,
I don't know. I'm concerned because there's only 2 bridges that'll get you on and off this peninsula I'm on. So if they shut those down, I mean, toilet paper is already scarce as it is. Like,
yeah, that was an interesting, yeah.
mhm.
I mean, apparently it's all been cleared out off the shelves in the UK and,
Yep. Yep. And Japan.
And Japan as well. Okay.
Mhm. Yeah.
Yeah. Kind of makes you wonder, what are they going to do with it all after the crisis is over? But whatever.
Yeah.
I could make jokes, but I think I'll avoid that one. So, I don't know if you were approached by a friend who was expressing the same kinds of things that my friend was saying, what would you say to her?
Stop stressing it. Otherwise, you're going to bring it into your life.
And if she agreed, which she did, because I said the same thing, and she agreed, but she was still upset about it, and she was clearly wanting to talk about it, what would you say?
It's fine to talk about it. You have until midnight to whine about it.
Why midnight?
Because that's my cutoff. Because after midnight, that's tomorrow Alex's problem.
Oh, okay.
So
okay.
It's not gonna carry it over to the next day. That's why.
So a little compartmentalizing.
Yes, exactly.
Why compartmentalizing? Why is that useful to you?
I don't know. It just makes it easier to organize things. Like I have to put things where they need to be and try to be mindful enough to leave them there. Because otherwise I'll stress about everything every single hour of the day.
That's true. Because, you're really an expert on this because you deal with anxiety as an issue.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. And that's really what we're talking about here, isn't it? We're talking about anxiety.
Yeah, basically. Worldwide anxiety. Yeah.
This is everybody else living Alex's life for a few days.
Yeah. Yep. Hopefully it's only a few days.
Well, they've also, Donald Trump, the president, canceled flights from Europe. So, and that's
they closed down the borders. Yeah.
30-day period. Well, actually, there's a humorous side to that too. I don't know if you heard this part. He didn't blanket all of the UK with the prohibition. He blanketed most of the UK except for certain areas that have Trump resorts.
Of course.
That's a true story, by the way. I didn't make that one up. Really?
Oh my God. I don't even know how Trump resorts are a thing. Like, who's out there staying at one? Like,
well, apparently they're not, because apparently they're in financial difficulty.
Yeah, he built them just for him, so he doesn't have to pay wherever he goes.
Yeah, well, he wants the taxpayers to pay for it, and that's another issue, but we won't go there. But still, it's funny. Let's be honest, it's a funny thing. He wanted to close the border for everything except for going to a Trump resort. Like, oh, yeah. Really? Okay.
Oh man.
You just have to roll your eyes at that one.
The good news is flights are super cheap right about now.
Yeah. Well, that's another thing that's going on. This is affecting the stock market. The stock market over the last month and a half is down 25% over the last month and a half.
Yeah, my mom said Netflix was at like $5 a share the other day.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, everything is being hit. The airline stocks, you mentioned airlines, they crashed. I mean,
Wow.
some of the European stocks are down 30, 40%.
I was going to say hashtag airline crash, but you know what? That's not a good idea.
Yeah, we'll stop. We'll try to avoid those. Yeah.
Yeah.
We can talk about it for a bit, but we also have to find where the bright side is. So that takes me to the next step. Where is the bright side? How do we find what to focus on instead? Because that's our advice. That's the advice we're giving to my real friend, your imaginary friend, and to any listener who might be wondering for a moment how to do this, how to deal with this.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. What are we going to focus our attention on instead? What are we going to pivot to?
I have been trying to balance it out with coronavirus memes.
Okay, you're going to have to explain that one a little bit. Why is looking at memes balancing that out?
Because they're hilarious, so they take the sting out of it.
Okay.
For instance, there was one that said, what was it? Oh, I hope this coronavirus doesn't keep going into deer season, because then we're going to have coronas with Lyme.
Oh, jeez. I think that deserves a little rim shot. What do you think?
Yeah, I think so. Deer tick season is very serious on the Cape. Don't play.
I thought that's what we were doing, was playing.
Yeah. But be very aware. Be
aware. Okay. So we'll play with awareness.
Right. Yes.
Okay.
Wear socks and check your clothes.
So, all right. So there's one meme. Were there more like that? I mean, we need a few laughs.
Probably there are. If I'm going to share something, it's going to be of a comedic nature. So if it's on my page, then yeah.
Okay. I mean, well, sure. You might as well laugh at stuff.
Oh, wait, I do have another one. How does it start? Oh, what did it said something about like millennials don't have a problem with the coronavirus because we've been through Y2K, Zika virus, basically everything.
You're immune.
Yeah, exactly. And then, of course, there's all the ones that are showing like places that used to chill back in the day when you were a teenager. And it's like, if you've been to this bar, you're immune to the coronavirus. So stuff like that,
Actually, it's an interesting point, because I think I read that they aren't sure why that children aren't affected by this, which means the Generation Z kids aren't being touched, which is really interesting.
Yeah, I know. It is interesting.
And
considering they go to Petri dishes.
Well, yeah, that's true. And yet, nevertheless, they're not being affected. And the first thought that goes to my mind is, well, we all know, because kids have been here less time than the adults have, they are, in a sense, more connected to source. It was a more recent thing. In that sense, to be connected directly to source and to remember what that's like. I wonder if that's providing some protection.
And also resilient to brainwashing.
Are they?
I feel like at that point, it hasn't quite gotten to them yet.
Well, I don't know. I thought it was getting to me pretty good at that age.
Not I, said the cat.
Okay. Well, that would be great. I would love that if that were true, if it wasn't getting in. Yeah. It's certainly going to be more true, I suspect, for those kids whose parents are enlightened, as we like to call it, aware of being a conscious creator, because they're teaching them how to do this. I mean, I'm thinking of Louis D'Souza, for instance. He's got his two young girls, and he's been teaching them the basic principles of law of attraction, and they've learned how to attract stuff into their lives. They wanted bicycles and so forth, and they're getting them, not through Louis, but through various outside means. So they're learning the skill. I have a suspicion somebody like that's probably going to be a little bit more resilient. I mean, they're still they're kids. They're still going to be mirroring the fears of the adults. It's still going to happen, but nevertheless, it's got to help some, I think. So yeah, that is good. That's encouraging.
I thought of another meme.
Oh, what's that?
I'm not going to get the coronavirus because I drink Heinekens.
Oh, jeez.
Oh yeah, they're bad. They're out there, but they're bad.
I think that deserves another one.
Yep. So now we're both 2 for 2. Just
yep. It's a 2 rim shot day so far.
Yeah. I wish I had a rim shot button.
Well, I can send you the file, I feel like.
But then, listen, I have enough files that I got to open during these podcasts.
Well, tell you what, I'll synchronize to you touching the screen. So, okay, go ahead, try it again.
Look at that long finger. Look at that finger. It's a little delayed, but we'll work on it.
That's all right. Well, electronics aren't perfect.
Facts. Electronics aren't people.
They aren't. No.
We can't.
Well, people aren't perfect either, so thank goodness.
Exactly.
Otherwise, it'd be a really dull place. But
Yeah.
Okay. Well, what else can we tell our hypothetical and real friends about dealing with coronavirus? What do you focus your attention on instead? That was the question. You said memes. Okay, that's one way. What's another way to redirect our attention? Kind of take our minds off.
I'll tell you, being a hypochondriac does not get you anywhere in life. So let's just not.
Let's just not.
Let's just not.
We'll phone it in and be done.
Let's collectively cancel the coronavirus and just go about our day.
That's an interesting idea.
Mm-hmm.
That's not all that far-fetched, because I'm thinking, for instance, about, group healing.
Yeah.
There are people online who do group healings for people with, stage 4 cancer and stuff like that. Why not? Let's do it for coronavirus.
Yeah, exactly.
We got all these, I don't know, tens of thousands or hundreds of thousands of people who have been infected with it, and people, hundreds of people who are on death's door and so forth. Let's help them get out of it.
I think it just got more serious because now Tom Hanks and his wife are now positive for coronavirus.
Yeah, Tom Hanks, Rita Wilson. Yeah, that's true.
Yeah.
Well, maybe that helps us give us a point of focus.
Yeah, because now it's like, oh no, not Hollywood. They're untouchable. What's happening?
Well, like I say, we know who they are. Most people know who Tom Hanks is. Most people know who Rita is. So that gives us somebody to focus our attention on. And so it becomes Tom, Rita, and everybody else.
Well, he's not even worried about it.
Well, that's a good thing.
Yeah. He's like, we have a few cold symptoms. We'll check in a couple of days. Bye, guys. That's the attitude to have. Like, it's not, it's like a lot of people that are getting it, at least in the US, the people that are getting it are surviving. They're just self-quarantining. So
there are some people who succumb. There have been some deaths, but
yes, there have been. But again, they're usually elderly or compromised immune systems or smokers. Those people are having problems too.
To me, it isn't even, at least it was just people who were at risk. That to me isn't even a good enough thing. For me, it's that the number is small.
Right.
Some countries are reporting hundreds of people. I think here in the U.S. it's under 40.
Yeah, so it is.
It has not gotten a really bad thing. It's not become really bad. Not that it couldn't. It certainly could. With all the attention that it's getting, with all the negative attention, the fear that's attached to it, it certainly could get much worse. But the point is, it hasn't. So there's still time. There's still time to turn it around. Now, I know some listeners are going to think, but there aren't all that many of us. We've got a nice listener base. We're up, 600, 650 listeners per episode. That's not a big number, though, compared to 8 billion around the planet.
Well, that's why you got to tell a friend to tell a friend.
Yeah. But also, the reason I bring this up is we should also remember just how powerful consciously creating really is. Because if you've got one of the ways they usually describe it is if you have one person who's focusing on the negative and another person who's focusing on the positive, and they're both related to the same thing, the one who's focusing on the positive, their efforts are going to be like 1,000 times more powerful.
Right. Because they're at a higher vibration.
Yeah. So, instead of having 650 listeners or whatever, we've got the power of 650,000 or, something like that. So it's actually a lot more powerful just because of, the tremendously higher level of power of high vibration stuff compared to low vibration stuff. That's encouraging, I think.
I agree.
And I think there's another piece to it too. It's about not feeling like we're responsible for healing the planet.
Yeah. Everyone is responsible for their own one person. So it's great if you try to do more, but don't hurt yourself. Don't fry your brain.
Yeah. And if we're taking care of ourselves and if we're helping some others, like what if we actually did help, say, 500,000 people? Yeah. That's great.
That's awesome.
Yeah. So that to me is the way to look at it is, we're going to focus on helping 500,000 people.
Okay, cool.
And we can do that.
Nice, easy number. Cool.
Yeah. If all the people listening to this podcast kind of get involved and just take a moment and be mindful. And now let's see if we can agree on the guidelines, how we're going to go about doing this. Okay.
Okay.
I'm recommending that what we do is try to imagine all these people healthy.
Okay.
and living a happy life and enjoying themselves and virus free and, you know, Tom and Rita back on the set making their movie. I don't remember what the movie was, but whatever the movie is,
It's an Elvis movie.
It's an Elvis movie. That's right. Yes.
Mm-hmm.
So working on their Elvis movie, you know, and then kind of expanding that, saying that plus everybody else all getting back to their lives and the things that they're doing, and getting back to their families and their friends and feeling great, feeling wonderful. That to me is what I would want us to focus on.
Yeah, I agree.
And I also want to remind people about, I was just watching this. Actually, Louise and I were watching this last night. There was that film that came out 2002, something like that, called What the Bleep Do We Know? A young Dr. Joe Dispenza was in it and a few others. One of the things that was mentioned in that movie was, the movie was basically about quantum physics and how it relates to health and law of attraction and all that kind of stuff. And one of the points that they made was that what you focus on where your health is concerned, where everybody else's health is concerned, when you do it in a way that is mindful and that is consistent and you make that consistent effort, you become a very powerful creator. And they cited a very famous study that we've talked about at times here on the show. It was a deliberate attempt back 1993, something like that. A whole bunch of people descended on Washington, D.C. for the purpose of trying to bring the crime rate down for a weekend, I think it was, to like 25% lower. And they publicized it in advance, and the local police department heard about it. They poo-pooed the whole thing. The science powers that be poo-pooed the whole thing. They came in, they did their thing, and the crime rate fell 25%.
The number they aimed for. Nice.
The number they aimed for. And after that, the police in Washington, D.C. were all on board. They said, well, can we do this again? This is great.
Yeah.
So proof positive, for those who need the proof, and there are actually lots of examples of proof out there. But for those who need the proof, there's an example of it. It really, when you have numbers of people focusing on putting out that high vibe feeling for the benefit of others, it does help. It does actually have a very positive impact. You know, I'm trying to think what the name of the woman is who wrote the book, The Power of Eight. McTaggart. Lynn McTaggart, I think her name is.
Lynn McTaggart.
I think that's what her name is. She has these regular events. There are a number of people who do these regular online events. You can join Facebook groups and other kinds of groups to, on a regular basis, everybody gets together and they kind of pray over somebody who's got cancer or somebody who's got this, that, or the other thing. And they've had tremendous results. We had Dr. Joe's team leader, Kim Lee Boda, on Tuesday, and she was talking about people who had just come to the workshops and engaged in the meditating and listened to the workshops and so forth. And they came in a wheelchair and they end up walking out on their own, under their own power a week later, you know? So clearly that this kind of intense activity works. There's a lot of evidence to support it.
Right.
So that's what I suggest. I suggest we just focus on, you know, we can just do it right now kind of as we're talking. So we're imagining all of these people who are currently, well, let's focus on the ones who are really struggling, the ones who are having trouble, you know, their breathing is restricted, there aren't enough ventilators going around, that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
Some of them are maybe at death's door, and we're focusing on them right now, getting better really fast, amazingly fast. The doctors are amazed at how fast they're getting better. Right? And as they're getting better, the stories are starting to come out. And they're getting up out of bed and they're getting back to their lives, and the doctors are like, you know, taking measurements to find out, okay, what did they develop, like a new immunity? What happened here? Is this something we can reproduce? They're starting to get excited about that.
I say we're all skipping down the street just in time for spring.
Yeah, that's true. Spring's around the corner, and it's an early spring this year because not much snow going on in March here.
Hashtag global warming,
which is unusual for this area. Not have snow this time of year.
Oh, I know.
Yeah. So so there, you know, there it is. That's what we're focusing on. Let's kind of keep that in the back of our minds for the rest of the show. We're just going to keep, you know, going back to that image because it's a powerful image. It's a powerful little vignette we've created there.
All right, live vignettes.
All these healthy people coming out of their sick beds and getting healthy. That's a good thing.
How do you spell vignette? Hold on, VIN.
VIGN.
VIG. See, I had it right the first time.
Ah, yeah. VIGNETTE.
ETTE. Live vignettes. Okay.
There
Good.
you go. So it's included. All right. So that's good. We'll just keep that one going for a bit. What else can we do for somebody who's still kind of struggling? They're kind of, they're feeling the angst. They're feeling the fear. And I am asking you because you have a lot of experience dealing with that. What are some of your go-to things? What do you do when that fear comes back and you know you don't want to be focused there, but you're feeling it anyway?
Distraction is always my number one go-to.
Okay.
So whatever your favorite thing is to do, go do it.
Like what? What are the things you do?
The other day, I was going to post the other day, nothing's better than eating mashed potatoes while watching Grey's Anatomy in your PJs.
Okay.
Comfort food and comfort shows. That's what I like to do.
Oh, our friend Daniel, while he can't join us because of all the noise, he's actually tuned in. And he wrote back saying, those are great. He likes what we were doing there. So.
Oh, thank you, Daniel. Hi.
Thank you very much. Hello there. So, okay. Eating in your PJs. That's good.
Yep,
Anything else?
Yep. Not watching the news is my favorite thing to do.
Yeah, this is a good time to turn off the news. It's not like it's going to tell you anything new that's going to be helpful.
The worst part is when I'm about to watch my show and then the president interrupts to talk about it. And I'm like, bro, I'm just going to keep fast forwarding until I get to my show. That's what I'm going to do.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
Gotta love DVRs, man. I don't know how people are watching live TV like savages with commercials and stuff. I don't know.
Actually, that's one thing Louise doesn't do much of anymore. So I don't know either. I can't answer that one.
I mean, I've been brought to the other side and I can't go back. I don't know.
I do know some of them. Well, that starts to get down the wrong rabbit hole, but I do know there are some of them that they won't allow you to fast forward through, but you just have to be selective.
Only on demand. But on your DVR, you can fast forward and rewind.
If it's recorded.
Exactly.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. That's true. Yep.
See, look at that. We distracted ourselves already.
What were we talking about? I forget.
Exactly. And that's how you do it, people.
That's how you do it. It's true. One of the things I like to remember when I'm trying to figure out how to pivot away from something that's tough is I like to think about pivoting in a 360-degree circle because you've got 360 degrees around you. And most of us try to think in terms of 180 degrees, right? So the thing I'm angry or frustrated or upset or angsting about, getting all anxious about is at 0 degrees. It's right in front of me. And what most of us try to do is we try to go to 180, which is about the hardest one to go to. Anything less on either side is easier. And I say that to remind myself, I don't have to go to 180.
Right.
I can go to 20. I can go to 90.
Yeah.
I can go to 235. It doesn't matter, just as long as it's not directly back to 180, because that's the hard one. That's the diametric opposite one.
As long as you're not at 0, you're good.
Yeah. So almost anything becomes a valid distraction, doesn't it? As long as it's not on the topic. Or if it is on the topic, then it's laughable or provides some form of release, some kind of way to let go of it.
Mm-hmm.
Really
I know what Daniel would say.
What's that?
Distract yourself with an episode of Daily Dose of Happy. And how do you do that? By becoming a subscriber.
We're going to do subscribers. Okay. Well, it's a good time to do a promo. Why not? We can do that. And it's a good point because, most of the time what we're talking about are lighthearted subjects, and that is the point to be a subscriber. But like we're showing today, we're not afraid to go after the tough subjects.
No, we're not. No.
And the really great part is every time we do, we find a way to come after it in a way that feels good.
Yes. Mm-hmm.
Which is really good for a listener.
Yeah, I agree.
If you're a listener, you can count on every single show, you're going to find yourself feeling better at the end of it. Mm-hmm. Because that's what your Daily Dose of Happy is all about. So
exactly.
That's our long-winded way of saying become a subscriber if you're not yet a subscriber. And it's so easy to do. Just go to the homepage of our website, loatoday.net. At the top of the page, it shows you how to do it. It actually tells you what to do for your particular device because it actually knows the difference between an Android and an iPhone and a Mac and a PC. It knows how to tell all those things apart and just walks you through it. Some are going to be easier, some are harder just because of the different devices, but it'll tell you what to do. And then once
clicks, you'll be there.
Yeah, usually it's very quick. And then everything's streaming right to your device every single time that we're publishing. Mm-hmm. Which is, by the way, how our listenership keeps increasing.
And that's what I love to hear.
I love hearing it too. I love reading. I like doing the math and saying, "Oh wow, we just went up again. How cool is
Ugh,
that?"
math. That's why I'm
Well,
glad you're here so you can do it for me and just tell me what the numbers are, because I don't math.
I don't either. Actually, I use a spreadsheet.
That's still math.
No, it's just plug it in and let the spreadsheet do the calculation. I don't do all the calculations. I tell it what to do. Okay, you have to take this, multiply by that, and divide by that. I can tell it to do that, but then it has to do the hard work. It has to actually calculate it all.
Oh, man.
Of course, we kind of left out the other part because most of our subscribers listen to the podcast, but we do have a few on YouTube. The numbers are starting to pick up a little bit, and so we should probably explain that part. So tell people how to be a subscriber on YouTube.
Okay, so if you go to YouTube, search LOA Today podcast videos, and once you see our smiling faces, down below there is a red subscribe button, and next to the red subscribe button there is a little silver bell. When you click the silver bell, make sure you click all so you'll always be notified when we are live.
And that's it. Very, very simple. So, yeah. And so now we just encourage people to get that daily dose and find another way to distract themselves every day during this craziness that's going on. So what other strategies can we give people? I mean, these are good ones. I mean, probably most people are going to be able to, get it done with what we're talking about so far. But let's consider for a moment the people who are finding it really hard, really, really tough. They just can't seem to distract themselves. The memes aren't making them laugh. What else can we suggest? How else?
How do memes not make you laugh? You're clicking on the wrong memes. Oh, man. That's what the internet is all about, is the memes. Oh, man. Well, for people who are not enjoying the memes and are still getting anxious, let me see. What else can we do? Well, if you're going to cut yourself off from the world, cut yourself off from the world. So that way you get no incoming static and confusion. So you can just make up your own opinion about the situation.
Of course, somebody who's this far gone with their angst is probably playing 80 to 90% negative tapes.
True. Okay, so what we got to do is we got to get rid of that negative tape.
Ah.
Yeah.
Are you saying that this is a time to be mindful about working on yourself?
Yeah. I agree. I think it is. And I think we have to take a page from Daniel's book and do I like to say random intervals in the day where you can take time to be mindful, but he likes to have his, calculated. But I think being random is better because then you're caught off guard and you're like, what am I doing? What am I doing? Oh, okay, hold on. Let me be mindful for 15 minutes.
Okay.
I think that's a good job.
I've been using Daniel's approach with the scheduled ones, and I can't honestly say I've been doing 15 minutes each time, because then it would be 15 minutes to do the mindfulness, 15 more minutes to deal with the cats, another 15 minutes to get back to work, and then 15 minutes to work before the next alarm comes up. So my mindfulness is a little bit shorter than 15 minutes. It's usually like 2 or 3, but.
Yeah, well, get it in where you can fit it in.
Well, that's it. That's what I look at is, just you do what you can. You just keep doing what you can, and you keep doing it over and over again. I was really impressed with Kim. The story that she told about how often she meditates. I
know. I was like, what?
Twice?
What do you have time to do for the rest of the day?
I mean, that's 2.5 hours out of her day just meditating.
Yeah, I can even focus for 30 seconds. I don't know what she's doing for an hour and 15 minutes. That is talent. Woo.
Well, she's listening to you can get the pre-recorded one. He's got a pre-recorded meditation you can buy. I think he has.
Yeah. Okay.
So that's how she's doing it. But even so, that's a big time.
That is.
That's why.
If you want to do it, you're going to do it.
Yeah. That's why I was saying I was so impressed with the commitment level. That's a great commitment level.
Yeah, that was definitely impressive. I was like, whoa.
It's where I start reminding myself again. It isn't even so much the quantity, how much you're doing, it's how often you're doing it, I think. That's where the brilliance of what Dan talks about, with the scheduled reminders is good. If you're doing it all the time that you can throughout your day, the more often that's the other thing. The more that I've incorporated, the more I've drawn into my life doing mirror work and my little video vignette that I watch and doing these things during every hour throughout the day and so forth. The more I bring them in, the more I find myself remaining, I don't know how to call it, sort of subconsciously mindful. Does that make sense?
Yes, it does.
Yeah, it's kind of like you've started a new programming tape in the back of your
Yep.
head,
Mm-hmm.
and it's replacing some of those negative tapes, which is good. And it's
That's
replacing
exactly what I was saying. Yeah.
yeah, and it's
Mm-hmm.
kind of replacing them with, okay, be mindful, be mindful, be mindful.
Yep. Mm-hmm.
No, are you connected? Check yourself. Have you been connected?
Check your connection.
Yeah, check your connection.
For me, it's hard because it's like working out. Like I'll be on the treadmill and I'm like, oh, is it over yet? Like that's how I meditate. Like how many, has it been 15 minutes yet? Am I done yet? Like, and then you find out only 30 seconds have passed and you got a way to go.
Well, you should probably have tuned into the show that we did on Monday, because Monday was with Louis D'Souza and Ioana. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Did
I saw
you hear
that.
it? Okay.
I didn't hear it. I saw the thing on the LOA Today Facebook group, and I was like, "Oh, she's back." Okay,
she's back. Yeah, which is great. I'm loving it.
How did it work out with the cameras and everything?
Pretty well. Well. Yep. Everything went out okay on that. She had a little trouble with the mic at first, but you know,
everyone does at first.
Yeah, that just happens, but it was okay. We got it going.
Okay,
and, good. Louis and Ioana are going to be a good mix.
Okay, good.
Like you and Daniel are a good mix, and it's going to be the same thing with these two.
Mm-hmm.
In part because Louis' perspective is so different from everybody else's.
Mm-hmm.
And in part because Ioana brings very much of a scientific perspective, and it's a
great
mix because they're both into health and fitness. They're both there's a lot of overlap there, but there's also a lot of differences.
Right.
And it was coming out during the conversation. One of the things that we learned pretty early on was that they're very much into the same kind of exercise routine.
Oh.
Because Louis is a teacher of what is called HIIRT, and she's a practitioner of HIIT.
Okay.
HIIT is high intensity interval training.
Right.
HIIRT is high intensity interval resistance training. So basically using a weight of some kind.
Okay. What was the second one? HIIRT?
Yes.
Okay.
And what was interesting to me about it anyway was I asked them to describe for the audience, you know, what's this all about? And they said, well, what you do is you just, if you're running, for instance, instead of jogging and just doing a consistent pace, you run as hard as you can for 30 seconds and then you stop and you just do a little walking pace for a bit.
Yeah.
Calm down. And so when you said, you know, you could do it for 30 seconds and you're done, I'm thinking, well, geez, maybe she ought to be doing the high intensity for 30 seconds thing.
I'm going to get there. I got to get outside first.
Well, the reason that Ioana anyway gave for doing it was if you're doing it high intensity, your metabolism actually stays high longer.
Oh, that's a positive.
So if you're trying to burn some fat off, that's going to be a quicker way to burn fat off, which I thought was interesting.
All right.
Yeah. But they were interesting. They were both advocating. In fact, Louis is a teacher of it. He apparently has classes that he teaches HIIRT.
Oh, excuse me.
So I thought that was a pretty cool overlap between the two of them. I didn't even know about that one going into the show. But.
You notice you find your co-hosts that have overlaps?
Yeah. I've missed occasionally, but I have. I've definitely missed it. I can think of one combination in particular that just did not work, but for the most part, yeah. And I haven't always known why it was going to work.
Right.
I basically just went with gut impression, like this is going to work. I just feel like it's going to work, and it works.
Yeah.
You know?
I agree.
I mean, well, I can even think of one that did work. It was a little bit uncomfortable for you because you were feeling kind of stepped on at times.
I know who you talk about.
You know, my friend Bill G. And Bill's a great guy, and we had some good stuff there. You know, and you were it was a little bit tough for you for a bit there. But nevertheless,
soldiered on.
And the dynamic did work. It really worked well. It was, I'm sure it was easier for you when we changed the schedule around, but nevertheless, it did work. They made for some really good shows.
Very true. Very true.
You know, they really did. So
they got a lot of honesty out of it. Definitely.
Oh, no doubt about it. Yeah. There was a lot of heart on the table in that one.
Oh yeah. Remember what was it? The anti-vaxxer episode?
Yes, right.
Oh man, those good times.
That almost ties into coronavirus in a way. Not quite, but
a little
almost.
bit. That was another meme I saw. It was a picture of this really, really, really skinny person, and they were short, and then they had pimples and like super long hair, and they were like anti-vaxxers during the coronavirus talking about my child never gets sick.
Oh, jeez. I think it's a double rim shot.
Yes, I'm up to 4. Well, technically not even really, because I'm just spitting out other people's memes. These are not my memes.
That's all right. I mean,
I'm sharing.
Most of the, I mean, you've laughed at, you've liked a lot of the jokes that I've told, and
Oh yeah,
you never heard them before, but I didn't make any of them up. I mean, these are all jokes that I heard, 40 years ago or something like that. They just hadn't been resurrected yet.
Well, that's why they're brand new, because I'm only 36. So
that's right. So there you go.
I'm like, no way. Nuh-uh. My mom got me the other day. She tried to play me and she was really good. She even surprised herself. She was telling me, because she asked me what I would want to come back as if I was going to come back as an animal. And I said a dolphin. And I said a dolphin. She said you wouldn't come back as a porpoise with a purpose. And I said, what's the difference? And she said, well, dolphins have a fin. That's why they're called dolphins. And I was like, what? It was like, I'm totally mind blown. I'm like, no way. It's just like, no, I'm joking. I was like, what? I thought you were Google for a second. Stop it. She played me so hard. Moms, man. Moms.
Oh, that's funny.
She had me going for like a good 5 minutes. She's like, yeah, dolphins have a fin, porpoises don't. I'm like, really? Who did that? That was smart. I didn't even notice. Oh my God. I'm such an idiot. Hashtag dolphins with a purpose.
Well, that was good. That was a belly laugh. That was really
brought to you by Lafayette King.
Well, I mean, belly laugh is what you're going for. You want to throw the stress off of a coronavirus pandemic? Belly laugh. That'll get rid of it. First of all, it's great for your resistance, your physical body resistance.
And your abs.
And your abs. Yep. It's true. It is. Yeah. But I mean, I could get you on to talk about that, because I recall like the first or second year of the show, that was one of the things we would talk about, how, there was a physiological benefit to laughter, and it's measurable, detectable. They can actually document it. They can detect from the moment that you laugh to what's happening and healing another part of your body. They can actually track that. It's pretty bizarre. What
was that movie with Robin Williams when he would play the doctor that made everybody laugh?
Patch Adams.
Thank you, Patch Adams. Yeah. Yes. See, that's evidence right there.
Yeah. Oh yeah. And he was controversial for his time. That's what part of the story was, how controversial he was. But yeah, I think his practice is still going. I'm not sure if he's still around or not. I can't remember.
Wait, he's a real person? Shut up.
Oh yeah.
No.
You didn't know that?
I did not know that. I never even watched the whole movie. I've just known clips.
No, Patch Adams is a real person.
No way.
Yeah.
That's crazy.
Absolutely true. I gather he isn't quite as out there as Robin was, but I mean, who was really?
Yeah.
There's nobody who was out there.
Well, every doctor should be Patch Adams then.
Yeah.
That's fantastic.
And he has influenced the medical profession as a result. More and more, I mean, let's be honest, doctors today are more down to earth than they were, say, 40 years ago or something.
Very true.
They take a little more time. Well, maybe not in the more socialized medicine countries rather, but to the extent that they can spend time with you, they'll get to know what you're feeling and what you're thinking. They'll take time like that, and it happened before, but not quite to the degree that it's happening now. So I see that as an influence of a Patch Adams. Not that he was the only one; there were others too. But
yeah, in my medical experience, being a patient, all of my initial appointments with certain doctors have been at least an hour.
Wow.
Yeah. And like they'll tell you, and it's like, okay, so this is your first appointment with us? Yes. Okay, we'll be prepared to be here for an hour. Hour and 15 if you have to fill out paperwork.
Holy cow. I mean, like, are you single-handedly supporting the healthcare industry?
I mean, people have told me I'm in the hospital so much I should buy my own wing and just stay there.
Well, I hope you don't do that. It makes it really hard to do podcasts, but
no, it doesn't. I've thought about this before, because when I was sick in the hospital,
it's all planned, folks. It's all planned.
I was like, if I already had it in my head, I was like, if they're going to keep me, I have to podcast tomorrow, so I'm going to need my phone, I'm going to need my charger, and my headphones, I can use my noise canceling headphones and just, tell the nurses don't come in between 4 and 5.
She's got it covered. I love it.
Already got it covered. I try not to call in if I can help it. If I'm on Wi-Fi, I will call in.
Oh, well, it's nice to know you place such a high value on doing the show. That's a good thing.
I do. I love it. I try not to miss a day.
I also want to give one more shout out. We did this on Wednesday with Cindy Chavez, but there was the email that we got from Daniel.
Oh yeah,
not Dan
I
Mangina,
responded.
but yes, yeah. In
Yeah.
fact, you were mentioned prominently in it. Every co-host was.
Yes, I know. I felt quite special.
I actually read the first quarter of that. It took like 3 minutes to read the first quarter. It was a long email.
It was a long email. I just scanned for my name, and then once I saw it, I read it. I read the whole thing. I was like, does this even apply to me? Let me find out. Oh, I'm in it. Okay, let me go back to the beginning.
Well, now we know what your priority is.
It's always me, duh. You have to be your own main priority, people.
I guess that's true, yeah. But still, I mean, Daniel was just effusive with his praise for all the co-hosts and how much he loved having found the show and how he kind of stumbled upon the show in the first place and then he found this other LOA show, and I have a pretty good idea which one it was actually. And it was I think he said it was too soft.
No, he said it was too woo-woo for him.
And that's a lot. And it was woo. That's right. Because he was woo himself. That's right.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then he found us and he loved it. Like, whoa, that's pretty good.
Yeah. That makes you feel good down deep.
So that email was so warming and so long and touched so many of us. I figured it had to be mentioned in more than one show. So thank you. We really
thank you. We appreciate it.
That was like, you made everybody's week. That's a sure thing.
Definitely.
Yeah. I mean, it takes a lot to get Alex to write you back. I mean, she doesn't do emails. She does.
Not really, no. Social
so,
media and texting is how I do it.
So getting her to write an email, Daniel, you've done good there, kiddo.
Yeah. Well, he asked me about Supernatural. I couldn't not write him back. Well,
yeah, double whammy right there. Not only is he complimenting you, but he's asking you about your favorite thing to do. Oh my goodness.
Yeah. I was like, all right, let me help him out.
So I imagine you waxed poetic about Supernatural because that's what
I
you
did.
do.
I said that every show has their ups and downs, but a lot of the downs are for character development. And as a writer and a consumer, I have to say that you should definitely continue to watch. And with this season being the last season, now is the time to catch up.
Yeah. How many episodes are left?
Ooh, I don't know, because we're still on a break. It doesn't come back till next week. It's been gone for a month and a half.
Okay.
But I believe there's going to be 10 episodes left. I feel, if I'm correct, yeah.
Okay, so the countdown has begun.
It has begun.
All right. Well, I think we did pretty well on the coronavirus thing. I mean, because it's a tough issue, and we managed to keep it fairly positive, fairly good, fairly happy. We did some healing, some group healing. And I would encourage our listeners to continue doing that, especially, it's a great way to apply mindfulness, especially if you're dealing with the angst of what's going on and you're anxious about what's going to happen. Every time that you notice that anxiousness, turn it around and put out a little healing thing.
Yeah.
Put out a little thought that, you can just imagine. And we also have to remember there's two components to it, right? There's the imagining part where you imagine them getting out of bed and living their lives, but there's also the feeling component. You got to feel it.
Yes.
You have to do both at the same time. So this is actually a good way to practice mindfulness.
Okay.
Now that I think about it, what better way to do it than on something that is important?
Yes.
Because clearly with so many people feeling so much fear about this, they're saying it's important.
Yes, it is important.
It's very important to a lot of people. Okay, well, let's put the importance to use. Let's find this as a way to pivot.
Yeah, if the president's going to take his time off of Twitter to make an announcement, then it's probably important.
I think that's fair, yeah. I would say so. Okay, good stuff. Anything else we need to know from the land of the TV factories before we go?
Yes, I will say that speaking of the coronavirus, there's actually an episode of Supernatural, kind of low key about coronavirus, even though it was way before this was even a thing. It's called Croatoan.
Okay.
And it does bring a little humor to it because they jump into the future after what happens with the Croatoan virus, and then one of the characters is like, you need to hoard toilet paper. It's gold.
It sounds like people have taken their advice.
This is what I'm saying. I feel like they predicted the future, like they're the Simpsons or something, but yeah.
Actually, I don't think the toilet paper was hard to predict, but I don't want to go into that too deeply.
No.
Oh, that's a belly laugh, folks.
Oh,
that's
was a good
belly
one.
laugh.
When it comes with a snort, it's always good.
So with that happy thought in mind, thank you, Alex, for all of your wonderful insights. You were actually the right person to do this show because you've dealt with anxiety issues. So thank you. You brought some really good stuff to the table.
Well, I try, I like to come prepared.
You succeed. You more than try. You succeed. So, well done. Give yourself that pat on the back. You deserve it.
Okay.
All right. So thank you, Alex and Daniel. We'll look forward to seeing you again next Tuesday. Thank you to our podcast listeners as well. And we will see you all next time here on LOA Today. Goodbye, everybody.